Hey there, and welcome to another episode of Journey to the Sunnyside. I'm your host, Mike Hardenbrook, and today's guest has a story that hits close to home for so many of us. You might know Carl Radke from Bravo's Summer House, but his journey with alcohol goes way beyond what you saw on screen. From his early drinking days in college and fraternity life to how alcohol played into his role as a reality TV personality, Carl's story is raw, real, and relatable. In this episode, we're diving into the first chapter of Carl's journey, the experiences that shaped his relationship with alcohol and set the stage for a transformation you won't believe. Let's get into it with Carl Radke. Carl, thanks for coming on today.
Thanks for having me. It's good to be here. Happy holidays. Merry Christmas.
Hey, happy holidays. Man, you've had such an amazing journey. And one of the things I love is that you're really public about your entire journey, all the issues, all the ups, the downs. And so we're going to get into that, some of the really exciting projects that you're working on right now. But I kind of want to just start at the kind of rewind. And can you take us back to the beginning of your relationship with alcohol?
Um, yeah, it goes, I think, far back. I wasn't a big drinker in high school, even though, I grew up, I'm 39 years old. So I am a millennial, on the other end of the spectrum, I guess. But, we didn't, like my high school, just to paint a picture, I didn't have a cell phone until my senior year of high school. Cell phones weren't a thing in, mass like that. It was a Nokia like phone that had the snake app. You could change the colors of the app. Anyway, so my growing up, binge drinking was popular, I guess, in high school. Some kids would do that. I was very focused on my academics. I was focused on athletics. And I had, a family member, my brother, who also struggled, and that was almost what I didn't want to do, is kind of do the opposite of what he was doing. So, you know, I did drink a tiny bit in high school. It'd be like an after party after like a school dance. But I actually remember one of the first times I drank was a Milwaukee Best Light, or as we call it in Pittsburgh,
Yeah, the
Beast Light.
beast.
And I got really sick. It was like in someone's basement at a party. I had a can of warm Milwaukee Best, and I remember thinking, "This is horrible. Who would actually drink this stuff?" And I was ill. But that was probably the first time I ever, remember drinking, let's say, or, partaking, but I didn't like it. It wasn't something that I loved, and I didn't feel great, but obviously it was a social thing and other kids were doing it. And then I think college, I went to Syracuse University, was where, that's college campuses, that's where really the drinking picked up and where I learned, more about just the fraternity life and socializing on campus, and then getting into the bars when you're under 21 at school. So, yeah, that was one of the things I think when I first, started looking at booze, but it wasn't until I think my time at Syracuse University is when I really started to partake in having, drinking and having fun, or at least what I thought was fun.
Yeah. It's it's so funny because everybody has like a different journey to alcohol in some way or another where they start to question it. Like some just come out of a cannon in high school. I kind of did to an extent. Then I dialed it back. Then I went to University of Arizona. So I probably kind of mirror a little bit of your story. Like that's really when the drinking career kind of started. So it's funny how it's your own story. It's totally personal. So as you go through college, how did your relationship with that progress?
Yeah, I joined a fraternity my freshman year at Syracuse, which, probably wasn't the best decision overall, just because I had a lot of fun. I'm still friends with some of my brothers from that time, but it was kind of a crash course in binge drinking. Even the pledging process. I remember they actually had duct taped a handle of Jim Beam to our hands, and we had to finish the handle, which I remember basically crawling home from the fraternity back to my college
Yeah.
dorm room and just being a disaster. But yeah, it was in that time, at Syracuse, it was definitely a party school. We had big time sports. The fraternity life was, a popular thing. And then the bar scene was very popular. So it almost felt like to fit in or to be cool or accepted at Syracuse, you drank, you partied, you did what the fraternity kids did, you went to the sorority events. But I struggled a little bit because I was there to go to school, and I went to the communications program, which was called Newhouse at Syracuse, which was the reason I went to Syracuse. I didn't go to Syracuse to drink. And I kind of reminded myself of, I'm here for education. I wanted to graduate in 4 years because of how expensive Syracuse was. I was fortunate to get, some scholarship money because of academics. But if you don't graduate in 4 years, that scholarship doesn't necessarily keep going. So I wanted to get good grades and graduate on time. So I definitely was able to kind of have some fun and then, go back to school and be focused on work. I also played club volleyball in college, which actually was a big part of keeping me off of just always partying like the fraternity guys, with the volleyball team. And also I was on the women's practice basketball team for 2 seasons as well. So I always was very athletic. I loved playing sports. That was a way for me to kind of stay, away from all the partying all the time. I had a Saturday morning practice, so you wouldn't go out Friday night, or you'd be at a tournament over the weekend. So it helped me kind of stay kind of on a better course in college. But listen, that's where I learned of cocaine. That's where the binge drinking. I mean, you bring a 30 pack of beer to your own party because that was for yourself.
I know. Yeah.
That was just what it was. A case race was a thing. You'd get your buddies. Everybody would have their own 30 pack, and you'd see who'd finish the case first. That's just what it was. So yeah, Syracuse was a lot of fun. Don't get me wrong. I had a great time, but it was definitely, just normal back then, where drinking all
Yeah.
day, and then you'd insert other substances like Adderall was very popular, and then certainly cocaine became a thing later on. I mean, I wasn't a big thing for me, but definitely a lot of kids at school did that. It was a very popular party drug.
Yeah. It certainly mixes. I think it's such a commentary because what you're saying is like a lot of what I experienced in that, you go to high school, you go to college, and nobody really teaches you how to drink. So you show up to college and there's just this like mob mentality of like, drink as much as you can, drink as fast as you can. You go to the dollar or 50-cent drinks till 10 o'clock, go and stack as many of those cups on the table as possible.
Yep.
And so I love that we're having these conversations because I think that narrative is starting to change, fortunately. I think it still obviously exists in a lot of just like traditions that are keep going on, but it is just so typical, that to hear that. But before I move on to anything, you were on the women's basketball practice squad?
Yes. So I was a good basketball player, and I would play pickup. There's a very, very competitive pickup basketball games at like the gym on campus where, even the football team would come play, or, other sports teams would come, and I would play a really good pickup. So one of the assistant coaches actually saw me playing pickup and said, "Hey, you should come try out for the men's team." And they ask a lot of kids to try out. It wasn't like I was like this chosen one. But it felt cool to have one of the coaches approach me, and then I went and tried out, but I didn't make the full roster. But what they did do, they took like the next set of best players. And at that time, UConn, who was probably the best program in women's basketball, they were known because they'd take some men's players from school and practice against their women's team. And a lot of the people would argue that's why their UConn's women's were so good, is because they literally were playing against very athletic men most of the time, which helped them kind of sharpen their skills. So long story short, I
Yeah.
was asked to be a part of kind of a men's team that would scrimmage against the women's team. I went to practice like every day for a few months during their seasons, which was a lot of fun. I mean, they played at the Syracuse Carrier Dome, which is a huge, arena and football stadium, which is where basketball plays. It's a really cool kind of on campus experience. So I felt like I was a part of the team. I had a Gatorade with my name on it. But
Yeah.
it kept me in shape. I played a lot. I love to compete. And of course, I got made fun of just because on paper it's like, you're on a women's team, but the women's Syracuse team is really, really good. And anybody who knocks women's basketball has never played against a good women's basketball player because they're very talented, very fundamental. Um, I got my ass kicked a lot too, so it wasn't It wasn't all me
I
beating
love it.
them.
No, that's a great story. It sounds like a good experience and certainly one that I'm sure that makes for a great story anytime you drop it like that, nonchalant, and everybody wants to lean in and ask just like I did. So,
Yeah, I don't always share it. I don't always. So you got a little Christmas gift today for that.
all right, I love it. That's good. So, obviously you're out in the limelight, you're a celebrity. And so let's fast forward a little bit past college. And what role did it play since we're on the topic of alcohol? We're on the mindful drinking podcast. What role did it play in your early career and your time on Summer House?
I mean, it was my next best friend. I I think in social environments, alcohol was always just what you did, and that anytime you were outside of your apartment or at a restaurant, I mean, you grab a drink. It was just kind of ingrained in what you did. And then, I think the TV part of it was the show is about a group of friends that are having a good time. It wasn't a show about people sitting in a boardroom. Like they were following us doing things we were already doing, which was partying in the Hamptons. So alcohol was always kind of the 12th cast member of the show. Um, and yeah, I mean, I just had fun and was enjoying my time, or so I thought, and I don't think a lot of people have video footage of their weekends to watch back or to have, other millions of people watch back and comment on it year after year after year. And then finally realizing, okay, maybe there is something deeper going on here. But yeah, I mean, I like to listen. I love to drink. I love to have fun. Alcohol gave me a personality that I thought was cool. Alcohol made me feel more confident. It gave me what I thought like the ability to be a better version of myself. So that's
Yeah. I
I'm
mean,
sure
there's,
a lot of people are like that, but that was just for me personally. It gave me confidence that I didn't have without. It made me feel like I was cool. It made me feel like I could talk to people and be funny and be accepted. Um, yeah, so that was kind of my
yeah.
relationship with it early on, and up until I stopped, I mean, you know, I enjoyed drinking, don't get me wrong, but until it wasn't fun anymore, and then other substances obviously were a challenge, and so, yeah, I'm kinda rambling, I'm not sure
Yeah.
if I even answered the question you asked.
No, I mean, I like the way you said it, like the 12th cast member. It's certainly, there's nobody that's going to argue and say that alcohol doesn't make for good TV. I mean,
Yeah, and I
yeah,
don't wanna sit here and say, like, I'm bravo. I mean, no one ever forced me to do anything. Like, I had a great time. Like, literally, I
yeah,
wouldn't change 1 inch of what happened while I was drinking back then. I can't change that. I've just accepted. But there was no one ever going, "Here, Carl, you need to drink this to be funny or cool." Like, I did exactly what I wanted to do, and the camera just happened to be there. There's a lot
yeah,
of conversation around alcohol and reality, but our show has not like, it's people I don't think understand, like, this show started in 2016, was the first season of Summer House, which is almost 10 years ago. I don't think a lot of people realize when the show first began, it wasn't like a couple years ago during COVID. This has been going on for 10 years. So things have evolved a lot in our world, and but the show is about really close friends who were professionals in New York City, but the show followed them on the weekend in the Hamptons partying. That's what Summer House is. So from the beginning, I was signing up for a show about partying. But I don't think I could have ever dreamed that it would have lended itself to where we're at now, where I'm talking all I do really my entire personality publicly is that I don't party anymore. You know what I mean? Like that's basically what people know of me. Um, which is cool, but there's way more to me than just that, which has been an interesting exercise. I'm grateful that people know me for, getting my life in order a little bit, but when you kind of publicly go and say what you say about your story, it's people can put you in a box and in a corner. So you basically are just known for the guy that doesn't drink anymore on Summer House. I mean, that's basically all I'm known for.
yeah. I mean, I can identify with that because I mean, I decided to write a book and, putting it out there. And it's just, it's so funny that you don't know what you don't know. So, like, you had no idea as you started that show that you would be here talking about this subject because you just
Ever.
didn't even know what was on the other side of that or like,
No. No, I mean,
and
we didn't even know the first season when we signed up to do it would be ever I don't think I fully thought the first season would ever even be on TV. Like you hear all the time, you shoot a pilot or you shoot some episodes and it never makes it. We just didn't know and we didn't care. Like it wasn't reality TV back then isn't what it is now. People join shows because they want to be famous and they want to get a brand deal or they want to be the next bachelor. No one wins the summer house. This is not a competition show. It's a really true group of friends and a actual like almost a documentary about their friendships and their partying and like in real time living with us. So it just the way it started was literally we were just doing what we were already doing. I love to go out to the Hamptons and have fun on the weekend because when you work really hard and spend all your, Monday through Friday in New York City when you're in the concrete jungle in the summer, it's like best to get out of the city and go spend a weekend with your friends in a house and let loose. That's like how I thought you survive in New York. There's no way to just work in the concrete jungle 24/7. So the fact that they were going to now follow us along, it was like, cool, we'll see what happens. And it was every season, it kept kind of snowballing and picking up after. But to answer, I guess, long story short, I never would have dreamed I'd even be talking to you about what we're talking about 6 years ago. Like, I just would have been like, no, like, I love to drink. I didn't think I had a problem. Yeah, I was a dick and an asshole, but that was me, but
Yeah.
obviously it took some time and I had to really look myself in the mirror. Yeah, it's been an interesting journey.
You listed all those things out, like it made me more social. I don't remember the full list, but it's like the typical list of everybody that lists out, why it would be so hard to go to a party and not drink. But you have a unique uh, scenario where you actually got to see reruns of yourself. Did you ever look at those? And did that ever like start to change your dynamic on how you view alcohol?
Yeah, I mean, I would argue that if I wasn't on this show, I never would have gotten sober just because I didn't realize how embarrassing and how just not the version of myself that I thought I was in those moments. Uh, and it wasn't it's not me. Like I watch myself. I've seen myself back on the show. And funny enough, they used the clip from season 4, which was filmed in 2019. So that's 5 years ago. They used the clip 2 days ago on Bravo's Instagram, and it's like a funny clip, all of us hanging out at a table making jokes about something going on, and I'm like, I'm literally wasted, just wasted. I can see it on my face. I'm been drinking all day, and it's just embarrassing to still see that. But it's a reminder that not a lot of people have to. I don't know. Like, it'd be weird if I didn't change. Honestly, like like if you watch Summer House and see all the things that I've done, and then you still see me after year doing this, like it's like this guy doesn't change. It's worse. So I'm glad I had the footage. I had to dig deep and kind of look in and really humble myself and go, okay, I'm not proud of that. I don't love how I'm treating people. I don't like the version I've become. And I've also realized that I can't even manage it. I can't control it. And it was causing way more, things that people weren't even seeing on the show, just the up and down, um, challenges at work, other mental things that just were a struggle. So, yeah.
Yeah. That's a wrap on part 1 of our conversation with Carl Radke. We've scratched the surface of Carl's story, from his early experiences with drinking to how it became a big part of his life on reality TV. But trust me, we're just getting started. In the next episode, Carl opens up about hitting rock bottom, his decision to quit drinking, and how he's now redefining what social spaces can look like. This podcast is brought to you by Sunnyside, the #1 alcohol moderation platform. And if you could benefit from drinking a bit less, head on over to sunnyside.co to get a free 15-day trial. Until next time, cheers to your mindful drinking journey.